All right. So, when was the last time you guys were all together?
December of
It's
Uh,
been
last
a
year.
while.
It's been a
It's been a
while.
December.
while.
I know the day. I think it's December 16th. When was the World Cup final? December 17th or 18th?
I wasn't there for that. I was
I know,
So
I
unable
know.
yeah,
to.
So I'm counting. I think the 17th was the final day we were like Diba, Alfredo, and Marcos and I. And then I think you left the day before, so it was like December 16th, 2022.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a while.
Cool.
Too long.
Yeah. I mean, you guys. When's the reunion?
it's
This
actually
Uh,
this Christmas
mid-December.
break.
Oh,
This
nice.
December.
So you do have a planned reunion. That's cool.
Yeah.
yeah.
So obviously you guys are tight. You guys all came in as a class, plus Marcos, right? Was there who else? Was there anyone else in your class?
Uh,
Yes, Will Stack, Spencer
Oh yeah,
Burgess,
yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah,
and Kieran
Kieran.
basket
Yeah,
oh
Kieran.
yeah, yeah.
who
Okay.
went pro. Yeah. hmm
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know who goes first, but talk about your recruiting story, how you ended up at William and Mary, and what kind of just flow from there, so to speak.
We can go youngest to oldest.
Youngest of 17. Why have you done this? Uh, but yeah, my story probably started around my junior year. I had just started playing club soccer because I had moved around growing up in between Georgia and Nigeria. So yeah, it was junior year. I went to a showcase and I was like guest playing for a team, Alabama FC, and Coach Bordage saw me there, told Norris, and then got in contact, and things kind of moved quickly from there. And yeah, recruited
So
me, and it was good.
you just started playing your junior year in high school. I
That's
mean,
when I started
playing like
playing.
club soccer.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
um,
come a long
but
way.
yeah, but like it's, I played like obviously just like for my schools and stuff like that growing up, but never like organized club. So
Mm.
that's when that started, and had a lot of good people around me who kept pushing me to play. So
Hmm.
just kept on doing it.
So you were living in Georgia, is that right?
Yes,
Or
yeah,
Alabama? Yeah, Georgia.
Georgia.
And so, like, had you ever even heard of? Did you even know what a William and Mary was? Do you think it was just like
No, I
some
didn't.
dude and a lady?
Yeah, I remember I looked it up because I got an email from Coach B,
Hmm.
and I never heard of this, but it's D1, and they have it look like they're pretty good.
Hmm.
I saw this guy Antonio. I was like, this guy's poster child. I was like, this is so cool. And then yeah, um,
Yeah.
just just kept going from there.
Yeah. So, what were those What was that conversation like with Brendan? Um, was he like, "We need you," or what was that like? He's so
Um,
measured all the time.
it was yeah, he is very measured. It was like you have lots of good physical attributes that are that would be good in college soccer. So I
Uh-huh.
think like we could give you the opportunity to do that. Just I
Yeah.
was like, okay, I like the idea of being a menace up top
Yeah.
in college. So you know, it was
Menace.
Uh, who else got recruited by Brendan? Or you guys get recruited by
None
North?
of us.
Yeah.
The rest was all North.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
all Norris for me too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Alexander, I remember you at Colonial Kicks soccer camp.
Yeah.
Those guys were all about you. You turned heads. Um, so yeah, who's next oldest?
Well, next youngest, huh?
Next
yeah.
Next
young.
youngest is Bob's.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I got recruited, kind of similar, at a showcase. Um, I'm trying to remember where it was. I think it was in Northern Virginia.
Mhm.
Um, and my team was I moved to the Washington D.C. area, and I was playing for a team in Maryland at the time called Olney Rangers, and we played against a Virginia team called Loudoun United, and Norris was actually recruiting. I think looking for kind of Virginia-based players, so he was looking at the Loudoun team more. But it was kind of like a pretty good day at the office for me, and
No, what's-
I had a pretty good game. And then I think the day after, like it was one of those where you play Saturday, Sunday, maybe even Friday. I don't remember, but I played that game, and then the day after we played against a very good team from Philadelphia. And I remember a lot of college coaches being at that game because that team was very highly ranked. And yeah, once again, I did pretty well in that game. And so after that, I think Norris kind of kept an eye on me. He kept, I think he watched like a good 7 or 8 games of mine before he made like an actual offer to me. But we always kind of stay in contact. The first time he kind of reached out, it was through my club coach, and my club coach asked me if I was interested at all. And I mean, at the time I was just kind of focused on playing Division I soccer. So I heard it, like I saw it was D1. I didn't know much about the school. Then I kind of checked out the school, and like Diba, I saw that they were reigning CAA champions, which that was attractive, but also the fact that it was a good academic school was also very attractive. And yeah, so I was pretty interested from the jump. Yeah, and and I think that was, I would say, around January or February of my junior year. February. I would say February of my junior year. I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, that it all started.
Cool. Alexander, we'll save Alfredo for last. This is
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, his is a lot more interesting. But just to go on record, I am older than Alfredo. I'm just saying,
Okay.
I'm the oldest. Kidding, but, mine's pretty simple. Like I grew up in Richmond, Virginia, so I was about like 55 minutes from Williamsburg. Played Richmond United, Richmond Kickers, and FC Richmond. So like clubs that Norris was very familiar with. Went to Colonial Kicks camp, like you said. Going into my sophomore year, I think, did well. Norris was the first coach that reached out to me. I can't remember the eligibility date of what it is, but like first day, Norris reached out to my club coach. I had a conversation with him, and then he saw me play a bunch just because it's so right down the road. And we played some teams that he was probably also recruiting other guys from. And yeah, Norris was really like persistent and really like showed a lot of interest in me, and really showed a lot of like trust in recruiting me. And I knew, obviously, growing up close to William and Mary, how good of a school was academically as well. And that was a big pull. Just talking to my parents, like not only is it a good soccer program, but it's also an amazing school. So yeah, it was kind of a no-brainer and I committed really early. I committed, I think, February of my junior year, March of my junior year. I think I was the second one of our class to commit. So knew pretty early on that was probably the school I was going to go to. And yeah, that's my story. It's pretty easy.
Yeah. Alfredo?
Mine is a little longer, but it's a shorter period of time, I would say. So I was playing in Sevilla for Betis' academy U19s, and what would have been my senior year for like American high school, I started thinking about going to the US, but that's when Betis showed interest in me, so I decided to leave that like on the side and try to pursue that path, which I did for a year. But then I found myself like January of that year, so 3 or 4 months into my season, because seasons in Europe start in September and they go all the way to like May. that I wasn't playing much, even though I played very well in preseason and all that stuff. There was just a guy that was playing over me that had been there for a number of years, and I decided to restart that idea of coming to the US, just because I had also noticed that it was pretty much impossible to pursue academics and athletics at a high level in Spain. Like, for example, I had to literally fail a class because I couldn't go, and the professors couldn't like make up anything because it was not their problem, pretty much. So I just failed a class in university there, and in January there was a program that La Liga came up with, joining like the Santander Bank and an agency called AGM, that was called La Liga Pro Player. And what it consisted of is that La Liga paid for like a scholarship for one player of each professional team's academy, um, so that they didn't have the expense of the agency, which was AGM in that case, through the Santander Bank. I think that's how it worked. So I decided to be the guy from Betis that wanted to pursue this, and it was the first year, so no one really knew how it worked. We were the first generation to use this, but I do remember that obviously AGM had been doing this for a number of years, so they knew how to create profiles for student athletes and all that stuff. So all I did was provide my data to this agency and this person that was helping me, and they did pretty much all the work. A month after, in February, I received my first email from Norris, and quite early, like a week or two after, we hopped on the first call. In March, I talked to him again a couple times, and they were like hour-long conversations, which were so far of my comfort zone because I had never had a phone conversation in English for that long in my life, especially about like soccer, which is like a vocabulary that I wasn't used to using because they don't teach you that in school. Um, but one of those calls was pretty exciting because Norris said that he was coming to a showcase that La Liga was organizing in Madrid, where I could meet him in person. And he was honestly the only coach that had showed true interest in me during like those first couple months of the recruiting process. So I was very excited for that. So I ended up going to Madrid. I had to ask for permission and all that for because I had to skip a couple of practices, but obviously they were super open about it, and I ended up going to Madrid, meeting him in person. He watched like two 30-minute games from me, but he had already watched like two full games that I had sent because it was the only film I had. I didn't have like we didn't have tapes or highlight videos or anything like that. So I sent him like a full game against Atletico Madrid and like another full game that I played in preseason with Betis. And he saw me in person. I talked to him for like 30 minutes afterwards. I knew already that it was a pretty good school academically, and that if I got in, the advisors that I had from the agency were all telling me that I should probably pursue that one if I wanted to have a good academic career. And so I was pretty set on like, okay, if Norris wants me, like I'm definitely going there. It also it felt right from the beginning. The way he, I don't know, the way he asked the questions, the way he talked to me, the things he was interested in knowing about me, usually sounded right. And like resonated with me a lot. So I felt like okay, like if I'm going this year and I'm going for August, it has to be with this guy. And in April, I met him in person, and it took him a couple of weeks to send me the offer, and I signed it like end of April, beginning of May, and then in August I was here. So that was pretty much how it went.
What was the process to get into William and Mary for you?
I remember
like,
when
from an
he
English standpoint and you know all that went into it.
So I had to do two exams that luckily I had done before my year at Betis, which were the SAT and this exam called TOEFL, which basically is like an exam out of 120 points where you have reading, listening, writing, and speaking, and those are all worth 30 points, and you just get a number. And it had to be above a certain number, and I got it. So I was lucky that I didn't have to retake any exams because my SAT scores were decent because of math, because for some reason I think the math I had learned was just a little above what it was taught in high school here. So I didn't have an issue there. And my English was just average, like bang average. But the math grade definitely helped me a little bit there. And then I don't remember because I had to do everything super fast in the application process. So I don't remember that much. I know I had to write like an essay for William and Mary and like show my grades and ask for like the University of Seville, my high school, to send me like the proof of the grades and explain how like my grades are from 0 to 10, so that doesn't, I don't have a GPA number that I can like tell them I have an average that is like out of 10, so how that correlated and all that stuff. So but that was like, I think William Mary is used to like having to deal with some of this stuff already, so Norris was like, just send me this stuff and I'll figure it out.
Yeah, cool. So what about other than Alfredo, like on-campus visits when you were getting recruited? What do you guys remember from those?
I remember sleeping on Plank and Chicken's floor while Plank was playing video games till like 3 in the morning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I took personally one visit where Norris kind of showed me the campus, and I was very impressed by it. But then we had another was it official visit, right? Like the official
Yeah,
visit, I think was where we were all together. Kind of it was like for the first time, except Diba and Alfredo weren't there, but it was me, Diba, Alexander. Me, Alexander, Marcos, Spencer, and then and Kieran. Sorry, Kieran. And that was interesting. We got to meet each other for the first time, and kind of stay overnight and see how how the guys lived. So that was interesting.
yeah. I mean, go ahead, Diba.
Yeah. And Norris, just brought me to campus around like December of my senior year, and I just spent like 3 days. Yeah, it was a very nice looking campus, and I was honestly very impressed. So it's good.
Yeah, I mean, how did you guys know that it was like a good fit for you? What was the feeling of like being around the team that was there, and Nathan, you got to be around some of the guys that were going to be in your recruiting class. Like, talk about just the feeling you guys got, and how you knew it was the right spot.
Yeah. I actually I had committed before I met the guys and gone on that visit. I more like what went into my decision was just everything, like just I thought William Mary was kind of the whole package when I looked at it. Like it was a great academic school, which at the time I valued a lot, and then it was a good a very good program with just coming off of CAA. On top of that, I really liked the campus, and I really got along with Norris. I thought he was a genuine good guy, so it kind of made sense to me. I kind of had that gut feeling. So I knew it was kind of the good fit, like a good fit, just from it kind of ticking all the boxes.
Yeah. I think for me, like I went on a visit pretty early on my junior year, and I feel like from campus wise, it kind of speaks for itself. Like it's just, I mean, it's a beautiful campus and it's got kind of everything you want. And a big part for me was like it was an hour away from home, so it was like cool that my parents could still come and see me play most games. And like Bub said, like I just got a very good like feel from Norris that like he really wanted me there, kind of more than any other visit or any other coach that I had like talked to. And so like kind of compiling all of those things together, I was like, I think I would be dumb not to take this opportunity. And then I like Bubs was committed on our official visit with all the guys, and like that just kind of added that extra like, okay, I made the right decision because like we kind of all got along pretty quickly, and it was fun just like hearing where everybody was from and like all that type of stuff. So it was a very very good feeling going into freshman year.
Diba, you remember?
About the visit, or
Yeah,
'cause
yeah. I mean,
I didn't come to the official visit.
okay,
I was I think I had a game or something.
gotcha.
Whatever, bro.
You were with Nigeria.
He was already too big time for us, so it's
wait,
fine.
what time was it actually?
You were with Nigeria. I remember Norris telling us.
Actually, that's
Yeah, you were with the
crazy.
Nigerian youth national team.
Wow.
What was that experience like, Diba?
It was a good experience. Um, there were a lot of people there. Like a lot of people who just I don't even know if they were invited or not. I don't know. There's a lot of people, and it was good. It was a lot of good players. So
I mean, there was a lot of people who weren't invited.
yeah, it was it was one of those things where it was kind of you know I feel like I might be disclosing too much information, but I don't know.
Secret Service.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah, that's fair.
Who's gonna listen to this? That's gonna like bust it for too much
You
exactly.
never
information.
It's
know.
like
You never know. Diva's a pro player now. He has a
yeah,
contract.
things have
He
changed
can
a
do
lot.
things.
You know what I mean? It's like
Diva's
sometimes
the man, so
no, I'm not. It's just but no, it was honestly good though. It was a good experience, learning experience.
Yeah,
So,
gotcha. That's all you're gonna say about it?
well, I honestly do feel like I grew a lot from it. It was very mentally challenging,
Mm.
and it was like a level I'd never seen before, to be completely honest. But there was a lot of other stuff that was going on that
Mm.
you know, it's like it's tough because like they're trying to get me to pay to like be on the team and stuff like that. So it was kind of not the most ideal situation. I wanted to be
Right.
in.
So you didn't pony up the money?
Yeah, like didn't want to, it didn't really make sense. I didn't think
Yeah.
because like it could have actually done that after
Right.
being there and seeing how it was and everything. That they like, yeah, you want this amount and all that stuff. So we just decided to turn it down and just go back home because I needed to graduate high school anyway. Because if you miss more than 2 weeks of school, like you get dropped from the roll, and I was about to graduate and come to William Mary anyway, so it just made sense to kind of
Yeah.
not do that.
Okay. Yeah, I'll make sure that I post that clip and then tag the Nigerian national team.
Yeah, it's funny.
That's fun.
We'll take care of you. So I mean, how did that level compare to showing up at William and Mary the first time?
Showing up at William and Mary was very tough too. Like it was a huge step up in level because it's so much more physical. But
Mm-hmm.
Nigeria was very physical as well. But I feel like they both really sucked because they were both just so much harder to what I was used to, from what I remember. But both were, very just way more physical on both sides. So I think it was about probably the same, I would say.
So Alfredo, you show up, come across the pond, so to speak, and you know you report with a bunch of knuckleheads, and you got the existing team there. And what did you think? What was your first impression of being at William and Mary and playing with these guys?
Uh-huh. So I was excited at first because um obviously Marcos was my roommate, so I knew I had a Spanish speaker that I could like trust and that I could like be helped out by. So I was already like, okay, like the first hard box, which is like no one's gonna know Spanish, I can forget about. So if I have any issues, I know also Risto and Ricardo, who are two seniors, they also spoke Spanish. So if I ever need anything and I just can't find the words in English, I'm gonna have help anyways. Um, and after that, I had been talking to Marcos like a couple times during the summer, and I had also been talking to Norris and like to some of the seniors as well because we have this mentorship program. So I had very good conversations. I know I met with Norris a couple of times, and I think it was with maybe with the team. I don't remember, but he introduced us to like our game plans, and like he made us read a book about mindset and all that stuff. So I was just excited. And then when I came here, it was pre, so obviously I didn't get to talk to Norris or our coaching staff for about a week. Um, but getting to meet everyone in person was like it looked fake to me. It was like I've seen these people like online or like on Instagram for like 3 months now because the first person I talked to was Marcus in like April, and now like I truly get to see everyone in person. But everything was just exciting because as a European, and Bob's can testify to this, you look to the United States as like the holy grail. It's like the promised land almost. So it was like, wow, I'm really making this happen for myself. I'm actually going to a better world pretty much. And so everything was just exciting in my eyes. It was just a new adventure that I was um, itching to get to, and summer couldn't go by fast enough for me to get to the US, to be honest.
Yeah. What did you think of the level though? Like compared to what you're used to?
I was like behind physically for sure, and I've always been behind physically. So um in that aspect, it was tough for me. Obviously I was a little bit more technical than the average here, and I think that helped me a lot in my first year of like adaptation. um but I do remember that I struggled, like the physicality of like maybe not treating the ball as well as we do in Spain, therefore having to run more back and forth because you win it and then you try to do the attack and then you can lose it right away, and the other team is attacking and they're doing the same thing. So it was a bit more direct in that aspect to what I was used to, which is like moving it side to side a little bit more and then attacking when there's an opportunity. So that caught me a little bit off guard because I had been preparing during the summer, but I didn't know how like behind I truly was in that aspect.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was the biggest shock.
Nathan, did you show up and just have like lots of good days at the office again?
No, not quite. Not quite. Not so many good days at the office. No, it was like Diba said. It was tough. Like physically, the heat. Like when you come in, and then also like, I think for Alfredo was probably coming from a faster pace of play, and it looked like it. Honestly, like he's being very humble here, but Alfredo was definitely probably the most complete guy technically at that period, and it showed from early on. And I think the rest of our class maybe took a little longer to adjust. And like I remember I did, like there were some good days, and then there were also some not so good days for sure. It was the speed of play was definitely faster. Um, I think everything was just faster. Speed of play was a little faster. Physically it was a little fat. It was like stronger, faster, everything. Um, and it's not like something like I think people hear this a lot in the recruiting process, like college soccer is faster speed of play, faster physically, and all that. And I think it kind of makes it sound so overwhelming. But once you're in it, you just you do your best, and there were definitely some days where we like I did well or Diba did well, Alexander of course, but it wasn't as comfortable as it was in the kind of latter years for sure. Um, yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah. Alexander, you got any good stories from the beginning of when all you guys reported and got started?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've got so many, but the one that sticks out to me was like we were we were doing just like small sided games, like 5v5, 6v6, whatever, and I'm like defending like I can't Julian Engo, who was a senior at the time, and like they talk about pace of play. Like I just remember like defending him, and he like runs right past me, and I like am tracking back, and then the ball moves, and I'm just running, and I just remember like knees, hands on knees. I was like, I'm dead. Like this is not FC Richmond Jefferson Cup. Like this is a lot bigger. And I also remember the first day Alfredo shows up. He shows up a couple days after everybody, and he's like not able to practice because he doesn't have some sort of paperwork figured out. And he's on like the other field, and he's just like lining up free kicks, and he's just like banging these in. And I'm like, just looking at him like, what are we doing here? Like he's just this is unreal. And like two of them go in like the triangle, and I'm like, I'm not gonna be on free kicks for all 4 years of the year. Yeah, those are two that I remember from like pre that like very much stick out to me.
Does anybody remember the Navy game? That was great.
Oh my god.
About the Navy, like our first game was against Navy. It was on this horrible turf field, and we were all just dying. It was just like we were just running around, just killing ourselves. I was like, if this is how it's gonna be, I'm not sure it's for me.
I have a vivid memory from that game, asking TD on the sidelines. TD is our volunteer assistant who is 80 years old now, but he's been here volunteering for like 20 years, I think, or like 16 years, something like that. And he was explaining the rules to me because, first of all, we all go out there and I see that I'm not starting. So I came out like in socks, like just ready to like sit on the bench and like do a rondo with the guys. And everybody's like, yo, get ready for warm ups. I'm like, I'm not starting. They're like, no, everybody warms up here. I'm like, for what? I'm not starting. And what am I getting warm for? And then during the game, I see that Norris made subs in like 20 minutes in. I'm like, did he get injured? What's going on? Like, why is
Wait,
this guy
didn't
coming
you
out?
you started against Navy though? I remember.
No, he didn't. He didn't.
Nah, no freshman
You
starts
didn't?
with Norris,
Yeah.
bro.
Oh wow. Huh.
Yeah. No freshman starts with Norris in the first game. So that happened, and then I came in on like the 30th minute. I'm like, what is going on here? Why am I coming in now? And then I remember in the second half, it like we made so many subs, and like I came off again. I was just shocked. So I remember TD explaining to me like, oh yeah, like you can come on in the first half and then come back on unlimited times in the second, and like you stop the clock and all these things. I was like, yeah, this is definitely America. I'm in the right place.
Yeah, it just makes sense to stop the clock. I don't know why we have to keep the clock running. You know, it's it's a common complaint. So yeah, talk about like getting your career started and working your way into lineups and all that good stuff. Like, when did stuff start to click for you and developing friendships and stuff? Just talk about your experience and you don't even need to include me. Just act like I'm not here and kind of rehash some old memories if you want to.
Where do we start here? The ones that are like PG-13 and below. I'm guessing.
What are you doing?
Why you bring this up?
I think the biggest memory I have for me is that pre week, because that's when we all went through the same things all together, in terms of like having to move dorms twice and like starting to meet so many new people, starting to get used to the pace of the game and all that stuff. I think that's when we started creating the strongest bonds. For me personally, the people I spent the most time with was obviously Marcos at that time, and then Diba and Alexander, because Diba lived in the nearest dorm to Marcos and I, and then Alexander just spent a very good amount of time with us. And Baz was always like in his own world. Like he was in his room and and he had his roommate and he was just doing his thing. So
He's chilling.
that freshman year we were not as close with him as I would have liked to, looking back to it. But then obviously COVID hit, and that's personally when my life changed. I stayed with Alexander for 3 months of COVID, and that's when we became the closest. And then from them on, it was just we had to keep the circle tight. So these guys were my circle in the US, and that we spent like all of 2020, all of 2021 as together as we could. And obviously, I think moving to a house, the five of us all together, was just like the tipping point. That was what sent our friendships to like the next level, and it's just been nonstop from there. If I had to, sum it up in a couple minutes, that's what I would say.
Yeah, I would say that like freshman year, I had a girlfriend, and I was like she actually went to William and Mary, and I was like spending a lot of time with her, and like I wasn't really getting to know like the guys as well. So I was like, I need to figure this out. Ended up breaking up, unlucky, but it is what it is, and just like then like spending like basically every night like eating dinner and then like going back. I mean, like the amount of times Diva and I played FIFA freshman year, Diva
Yeah,
would like sleep on my floor and just like just play all night.
I would be too tired to walk
Um,
back, and I'd just crash out because we'd be playing for so many hours.
like I just remember like all those nights and like that's I feel like we got unlucky that like COVID kind of cut it short our freshman year, but I knew like when we were sent home, I was like, I really feel like we've like created a really special bond with these guys already, um, and like ever since then, like obviously Alfredo said, we all lived together 2 years in a row in a house, and like what I would do to like go back to like be sitting on the couch or at the dinner table just chatting with the guys, like those are some of the best memories I have like in my life. Like I got very lucky to like have four guys like besides myself that I got to live with who I also consider like my best friends. Like that was just like dream come true to be quite honest.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. The last 2 years were very special, but yeah, like Alfredo said, like I was actually like my freshman year coming in, I had my roommate Spencer, and we were we were close, and then like I kind of spent a lot of time with him, in our dorm. At the time, I was at Brown Hall, which was like Alexander was in it too, but it was far enough from Yates where Alfredo and Diba and Marcos were staying that like
GGV. We're in
well
GGV.
GGV, yeah, GGV,
Mhm.
that like it wasn't just I don't know, it wasn't like you would hop next door and they'd be there, you know. It was like you had to kind of plan it out. You kind of have to text people and stuff like that. So I'd say that like we were definitely friends, but like we weren't like that close. Like we weren't as close as we became to be then. Like as me and the other guys, and kind of COVID hit, and then I kind of I remember I was texting one with Alfredo a little bit, and like we were texting. I remember we had started to really kind of have very similar interests, and he was telling me that he was doing this nutrition major, and like that really piqued my interest. I was like really interested in that, and so I remember thinking like damn, like this guy is like really interested in stuff that I'm interested in, and and then our kind of sophomore year happened the spring, and that was interesting. The very interesting time, but the season wasn't like going the plan. I remember, and I remember one night we kind of went out as a team, and I was with Diba, and I think I was planning on talking to a lot of people that night, just getting around. But I remember Diba and I sparked a conversation, and then I think we just talked till like 4 in the morning, and then I was like, okay, like this guy gets me. And then after that, like we started like really like I would hit him up and go to Alexander and Diba's room, and we start like hang out more and more. And then like the opportunity came up to like live together, and like I was to me it was like kind of like a no brainer, because I knew like the direction I was heading in and the direction that these guys were headed in, and I was like, yeah, like these guys are like we're very similar. Um, and yeah,
And obviously, like
Yeah,
I think sophomore year is sorry, Diva. I was gonna say just sophomore year is the year when we all realized that we wanted to pursue the next level of soccer, and that we were probably the four guys that were taking it the most seriously, and I think that created a strong bond as well between the four of us. That led to like obviously living together and everything that came after that. Sorry, Diva. Go ahead.
just a lot of good memories. These guys, so many. I honestly, you guys are like my feel like my three older brothers in a way. You guys are really, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I just sometimes really appreciate how much, we've all grown together. You know what I mean?
I
Yeah,
mean, yeah. To be
Diva,
fair,
you are our son, and we are very proud of you.
Not son, no, no. But, it was a lot. It was a lot of, growth that went into the 4 years with these guys. Um, Obviously, like, I feel like a thing that made us really close was when, like you said, Mr. Cooper, when we got, Augie suspended. So sorry. But that did, that made us really, really close because that was a time where I feel like we all needed to lean on each other, even though Nathan was not there and did not have to go through that. So yeah, it was definitely that. I feel like, and how much we had talked in the months that well, obviously since Alfredo and Alexander were together, but we were all just talking so much, just trying to make sure we were all good. And I feel like that's when I really noticed that these guys are way more than teammates. They're like family. So
Yeah.
from there,
So
just
COVID kind of brought you guys together
yeah,
even
I
more.
think that's what
Yeah, definitely.
accelerated it. Honestly,
Yeah. Like when Alfredo, like he mentioned, he lived in my house for like 3 months, and it was like a month and a half into it, and like we had like a spare bedroom in my house, and my mom like comes down the stairs, and Alfredo and I are just like sitting there doing whatever, and she goes, Alfredo, do you want to like move into the guest bedroom so you can have your own space? And like we looked at each other, and we're like, yeah, no, we're good. So like Alfredo like spent the entire time like living in my room. And I got to
What's
know
up, step
Alfredo a little bit.
brothers?
I got to know like stepbrothers. I got to know Alfredo a little bit too well that way.
yeah, and that was the first 3 months, and then summer came, and we, like I was saying, we had to keep our circles very tight because of COVID, and coming back to school and all that stuff. So all the time I spent was mostly with Diba when we visited Atlanta, and then with Alexander and Marcos, and also in DC training with Bobs a couple times before we came back, and then I remember that when we got in trouble with your kid, Scott, I ended up living with Alexander again. So I had 4 drives a week that were like from Richmond to Williamsburg and back with Alexander and Anna, our best friend from the volleyball team. And that also made us that much closer because we were spending so much time together. We were just coming to campus to practice with the team and stay with the team. And because I had a couple of in-person classes, but I mean, I could have moved those online. It was more about staying committed to the team and keeping each other accountable in that aspect as well, and making sure that we know we had messed up, but that we did as much as we could, or that we did as much as it was in our hands to stay close to William Mary and to our teammates.
Yeah. I guess we don't need to jump too much into that incident, but I mean, I guess in a way, you guys are probably glad it happened in a way. I mean, just to have spent all that time, away from campus or whatever together. So, yeah. So you mentioned something that, the four of you set the goal that you were going to be pros at some point. One person's done it. What's your guys' excuses? Why haven't you lived up to the pact,
I think I have a pretty strong one, and is that I tore my meniscus towards the end of the last season,
Yeah.
so I couldn't take the next step the way I wanted. So I was kind of forced slash luckily that I had to decide to take my 5th year. So that 5 year is just finished, and now just gotta look to what's next, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I'm joking. So, Alexander
I got
and
you.
Nathan, you guys transferred and are playing in other places. So, Alexander, I mean, Providence is nice, Nathan, but it's not San Diego. So talk about, how you ended up there and, what your process was to, make a transfer, and end up out at San Diego State.
Yeah. So I was like after the senior year, and I was just like kind of trying to figure out what was next for me, and I was just thinking to myself like I want to try something new, and um, I was like, I want to be a professional soccer player, and some of the things that were kind of coming after that off season weren't the best like options for me. I felt like I could have done better, so I was like, um, what is going to put me in a position to like get a little bit more exposure and sort of take my game to the next level. And I just thought that taking a fifth year at like a and playing in like a big time conference, the Pac-12, which is what San Diego State is in, was like a big challenge that I wanted. So like pretty early on, like into the transfer portal, Coach Hopkins and I, the coach here at San Diego State, like reached out, connected, and it was kind of perfect because like I had visited San Diego 2 years ago with Alfredo, and like we both were like, man, this place is unreal. And I kind of thought that San Diego State was a school that I would always have been interested in for a fifth year. The fact that it's in the Pac-12 was a huge selling point for me. And so after conversations with Coach Hopkins, like he really, like his emphasis was really to get me in a position to like be at the next level. And I was like, that's exactly what I want. I want to go to a place where I'm going to be challenged, like to grow as like a player, as a person, as a leader, um, and also live in a place where I was interested in. You know, like I knew I was only going to be short term, so I was like, why not live in a really cool place and have a lot of fun with it? So it kind of all just ticked all the boxes, and I was like really excited about it, and I felt like I've made the right decision for sure.
Yeah. What's your experience been like?
It's been up and down. Like we had a really good start to the season. At one point, we're ranked like top 15, and then we entered Pac-12 play, and we kind of hit a rough stretch. I mean, Pac-12 is just it's a different beast from like any sort of competition I'd been in before. I mean, every single team is in the top 25 and top 30. Guys are it's a really physical league. Like the likes of Stanford and Washington are really like big time physical teams. And it's just tough. It's like I feel like from my experience in these first like 6 or 7 games that I've had, it's like one mistake is usually what decides the game. Things that like in other maybe other conferences you can get away with, like one mistake is what usually decides the game. Like for example, we just played Washington on Sunday, and we really like for the most part had the best chances of the game, dominated the game, like felt really good about our performance, and one mistake, one lapse on the set piece from us cost us 2 points. And so like it's like little things like that in the Pac-12 decides so much because all the teams are very, very good. So yeah, it's been a really good challenge for me. I felt like I've done well for the most part. And so like I think that yeah, it's been a really, really good challenge for me.
Yeah. What about you, Nathan?
Yeah,
Like,
so
how you ended up there.
yeah. With me, it was kind of similar. We ended our senior year. And I think apart from Alfredo with his kind of knee situation, us three were kind of looking at how we were going to get to the next level. I think we all kind of want to take that next step, like as soon as possible. But we all entered the portal. Like we all thought that, you know what, if it doesn't kind of work out, then we can always fall back on maybe joining a program that will have like bigger eyes on us. And and help us kind of get to that next level, maybe with a few more connections or I don't know, something like that. And so, I remember entering the portal. It kind of it felt nice because when you're networking to kind of go pro, you're doing all this work yourself. You have to contact agents. You have to kind of go out of your way to kind of get your name out there. Whereas the portal, it felt like it felt like we were all wanted. Like it was like the recruiting process all over again. We had schools coming in, kind of contacting us, and it felt nice. And so I talked to a few schools, but with Providence, I just really liked the project. The coach had seen me play at Vermont, the summer team that Diba, Alfredo, and I at the time had played in. Alexander's also now since played in it. And he I was playing left back at the time, and he was very impressed with how I was playing. And kind of he saw me as a kind of a wing back for Providence, and I really liked the kind of track record they had in not only kind of them winning but also getting guys to the next level. Um, and so I kind of committed pretty early on in January, but always with kind of in mind that I wanted to kind of go pro. Um, and so I got kind of decided for those 6 months to kind of go to Europe and see what my options were, and I ended up in Slovenia, playing there for I think I was supposed to be there for the entire kind of second half of the season because they run their season like every European league does, and it's and they kind of had a winter break, and I kind of joined up with the team then. And I was training with them, but I had some issues with my registration, so I could never fully register with them, which was a shame. And so after that experience, I decided, I that I was going to take that fifth year, and also I wanted to keep my doors open in the U.S. I kind of, like Alfredo had earlier mentioned, like when you move as a European to the U.S., it's like it's a dreamland. It's you can't believe that you're in this country, and I definitely felt that, like being back in Europe, like I felt like I had another chapter to write in the U.S. And I really wanted to still be in that country, so I felt like going and taking a fifth year was the right move. And yeah, and so I decided to come back, played in Vermont for the summer again, and then went to Providence, and yeah, it's been a I'd say a good season, a good latter half of the season for us so far. We started off rocky, kind of up and down, but then we once the Big East conference started really, once we started really playing games in the Big East, we really picked it up, and we found our form, we found our rhythm, and I think we went 6 games unbeaten, up until our very last regular season game, Seton Hall. But it was good enough to finish third in the regular season. So we're hosting a game this Saturday against Creighton. So that should be a great game. But yeah, I mean, it's been a great experience so far. I'm really, really happy with my decision to kind of come here, and just experience a whole new side of kind of college soccer, playing in the Big East in a huge conference, playing in kind of some really tough games, but it's been a really good challenge, and I've enjoyed it so far.
Cool. And then Diba, you took a little bit of a different route. Talk
Yeah.
about how you ended up at Birmingham Legion.
Yeah. So I had committed to the University of Vermont for my fifth year and knew that I still wanted to try and go on trials places, and I got a good opportunity through my club coach, who took me from Georgia to Alabama FC, where I got recruited for William and Mary at. And yeah, I showed up for the first day of preseason and just worked really hard and made sure I was working as hard as possible. And I did really well in one of their preseason games, and then got signed shortly after that. And after that, everything came so fast, and the season just ended. So much. 10 months of playing, which was, I haven't done that before, so the body feels kind of beat up.
So, I mean, your season's over, and what's next for you? Like, how do you determine what your next step is?
I actually signed a 2-year contract, so as far as I know, I'm here next year.
Gotcha. Okay. Awesome. That's great. Alfredo, you're done, right?
Yeah. The season's over now. We finished last Friday, so we gotta wait to have our final team meeting, and then my individual meeting with the coaching staff, and see what happens after. Because obviously there's a lot of uncertainty for me, especially being an international student and having the student visa to allow me to come in the country. It's kind of a tricky situation. but I mean, I'm sure it'll work out the way it has to, and I'll figure things out sooner or later. But yeah, the plan is to go home for Christmas, at least for a couple weeks, and then come back and start training again, getting ready for whatever opportunities come up.
Yeah. What are you hopeful for?
I'm hoping for at least some tryouts at a professional level. So I don't know. I'm just looking for an opportunity to show that I can play at, at a professional level here in the US. And then if that doesn't happen, or if I don't perform well in those, then I'll probably give it another try. At different places, try to stay fit for like at least a whole semester. Maybe I don't know, play summer league, whatever it is, but try to stay for as long as I can. And then if all the opportunities run out, then I'll have to revisit my future plans.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alexander, so your guys' season isn't over, right?
No, we have 3 more games.
3 more. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you hope you have more than that, right?
Yeah.
Or you?
Realistically, we think that if we win 1 or 2 more games in the Pac-12, it'll be enough for an at-large bid. It's just tough because we have Stanford, UCLA, and Cal, who are all very good teams that we have left.
Gotcha. So, once the season is over, what are your plans, and where do you hope to go?
I'll most likely, I've kind of been talking to a couple of agents, just to probably sign with an agency and then kind of see. Unlike Nathan and Alfredo, I'm not draft eligible this year, so the MLS draft is not as of now. I'm not draft eligible, so because I was on the list last year, I won't be able to be selected this year. So it's good and bad because if I have the right contacts and stuff like that, a team can invite me into preseason or with their MLS Next Pro team and kind of see how I do there, or they can offer me a contract right away. Kind of just depends on what they think. But yeah, I'm just kind of waiting to see kind of what like the people who are helping me out, like kind of what they have for me once the season's over. It's very tough, as you can imagine, like trying to balance like thinking about the future while also staying really focused on the season. You want to do really well, and like the more you do well, the more eyes they're going to be on you. So kind of trying to have that balance of thinking about the future, but also doing our best to, win a couple games this season and make a run in the NCAA tournament. So yeah, definitely some uncertainty, but I'm hopeful that like with the right people, I'll be able to get some stuff in my favor.
Cool. That's awesome. Nathan, same question to you.
Yeah, very similar to Alexander. The thing about trying to get to the next level is that it very much is dependent on how your season goes, and so like I'm just like on the one end, like it's like you worry about like you obviously think about the future and how you're gonna get to where you want to get to, which is the professional level, but at the same time, like we have no idea where we're going to be in a few games from now. Like where you could be a few good games away from your situation completely changing, or I don't know, a few bad games could make you like rethink of where you're at. So yeah, I'm kind of just trying to focus really on ending the season strong, but at the same time, yeah, it is. I am like having kind of those conversations with people about their connections, kind of agents and stuff like that, and hoping I can get into a setup where maybe I can impress on a trial or something like that. I don't know. I really, honestly, I really don't have that many answers for you right now, but just kind of hoping, like, just kind of working kind of the connections and then seeing from there how it's going to unfold.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate you guys sharing all that. I want to go back to, I think you guys said your sophomore year when you guys all decided you were going to go to the next level. And like, what did you just say, oh, we're going to do it? Or did you kind of come up with a plan? kind of a mindset, kind of a, an approach to how you were going to attack achieving that goal a few years down the line?
Yeah, I think I have a kind of a different um, sort of journey than these guys all. I think they can all probably say that their goal was after college to play pro no matter what. And like going into college, I had really like no thoughts of playing professionally. I just thought that it was, I didn't really know much about like any leagues besides MLS. So I was like, I mean, MLS is a tough league to break into. I was like, I don't know, I'm just going to play college soccer for 4 years, going to get a really good education, and then see like where that lands me in terms of a job. And it was after my freshman year, like um, the meetings with our coaches, and I walked into the meeting, and Norris like asks me, he's like, I had a good, I would say a very good freshman year. Played a lot, scored some goals, which was nice. And I walked into the meeting, and Norris's first question he asked me was like, "Well, what are your kind of your ambitions for the next season, and like for what's ahead for you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just kind of I'm happy with my freshman year. Just want to kind of build on that, kind of do whatever." And he's like, "Do you have ambitions to play professionally?" And I was like, um, "I mean, not really. Tough like that. It's really hard. Like I didn't really think I was good enough to be quite honest. Told I wasn't good enough, but that's a totally different story." But I went into the meeting, and he like immediately was like, "I think you really should reconsider that. Like you are a good player. I think you really could have a future playing soccer." It kind of just I was like, wow, like I'd never really thought about that. Like to me, soccer was just my way to stay fit and to also kind of like get into a really good school. And like obviously I adore soccer. Like soccer's been the biggest part of my life for 23 years now, but it wasn't really something that I thought was attainable. And so like this conversation with Norris like really like changed my view on it. And ever since like I had that conversation with him, he kind of told me like I really think you're good enough to play at a high level at the next level. I was like, wow, like that really like meant a lot to me. And it's been like kind of a goal of mine to like prove him right and also like prove myself right that like I think I can do it. So like COVID happened, and Alfredo and I, like we mentioned, were together, and like we trained every single day. Like just working on every single thing. And like the thing about COVID was that like the thing about where I live is like there's not a lot of fields that are like open to the public. So there's like this gross, like super long grass field, like right next to my house. And Alfredo had funny videos of us like mowing the lawn to like a certain section just so we could play in like that certain section. There's probably like what do you think, Alfredo, like 18 to 20 yards from the goal, like something like that.
Yeah,
And like
yeah,
we mowed it like routinely. Um, Actually, I mowed it. I don't think Alfredo knew how to mow a lawn at that point. But like we mowed it, and like those memories are like the ones that I have. It's like yeah, that was kind of like when I started being like, all right, I'm serious about like playing soccer at the next level.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Alexander was saying, like the rest of us, we kind of have that intention in mind. I mean, me personally, it was the reason why I chose to play for Betis over like coming to the US in the first place after my senior year of high school. Um, and I knew that I didn't want to leave studying for like when I was 30 years old. I wanted to do it while I was young, which was why I made the decision to come to the US. But always with the intention of, okay, my parents have always told me that I need to, get an education because soccer is like very unlikely, and like there's not many people that make it to the pro level. So I have to be able to get an education while I pursue my dream. And so I followed their advice, and I ended up coming here. And here, we had the example of Antonio, like Diba was mentioning earlier, who had made it pro the year before we got here, or like 2 years before. So um, it was clear that it was possible and that it was doable through William and Mary. So it was always like my main goal. It was like, okay, I want to graduate from here and then take the next step.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah, it was same here. Going into college, like having obviously done high school in the U.S., I kind of knew that the path at that time, the most likely path to kind of get to the next level was playing Division One soccer and playing well at that level. So kind of, I always had that in the back of my mind. Like I always thought, like if you do well enough in college, like you will. I always had hope that if you do well enough where you're at William Mary, that you'll get the opportunities at the professional level, and I always kept that in mind. And I think also that kind of, you asked like if we kind of did anything about that, and I think we really focused on kind of the process to get there. The kind of like Alexander had mentioned a little bit, the hard work that it does take. And so I think I would stay after all the time, would go in the gym all the time, and then that was only encouraged further when we moved into that house altogether. And all of a sudden, it's like I'm not the only one staying behind. I have like 3 other guys who are staying behind with me or are going to the gym. So even on the days where I really am feeling not motivated, I have other guys in the house that are, keeping me honest and keeping me working hard. So that definitely helped a lot.
Yeah. So I would say that sophomore year was when we all noticed that like we all had that like that same goal, and that we were gonna be good influences for each other. So that's kind of what sparked it.
Go ahead, Diba.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put Alfredo on mute so he quits cutting you off.
I mean, I feel like it's something I've always known, but I didn't really think like about it. I didn't think about it too much until that sophomore year, once we all started talking about it. But I always knew I'd wanted to. I didn't really know exactly what I would have wanted to be if I hadn't, done it. But yeah, it's once we started all pushing each other and, just keeping each other honest, like Nathan said. Like that's what really pushed me in particular. I know pushed all of us, but definitely because I never really had been pushed by people before. Like at least my peers. It's always been kind of like me, and then I'd have to try to go outside with my brother, practice or something like that. But even then, like it was still mostly me, and then these guys would we'd be go and practice. Like even sometimes if you have like time during the day when we don't have a class or something, we just go. Or sometimes I remember we used to get kind of crazy, and after games, literally day after games, sometimes we'd just go and get extra touches when we're supposed to be taking the day off. So it was just kind of like an obsessive thing that we did, and still, definitely, I think all of it really helped this day. But
yeah, did Alfredo help you guys with your nutrition?
yes,
So much, so much.
Yeah,
we helped each other in that aspect a lot. I feel like.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think that COVID helped with all of this because there was just like nothing else to do. Like it was like if you don't do soccer, like what are you gonna do? Just sit and like watch something all together, watch a movie or something. Like we're like might as well go out to the field. Like it feels good, and we do what we like.
I can't thank you guys enough. I know you guys have other stuff to do tonight, probably. So I really appreciate it, and I wish you guys the best of luck. I want to keep track of your stories and maybe have you on again once some things develop down the road for you. I think it's awesome and a testament to like the work that you guys are being modest. There's been a lot more work that you guys have put in that you haven't really talked about, but can't thank you enough, and best of luck the rest of the way. Here's to lots of good days at the office.
That's right.
Sure. Thank you for having us. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, you bet. Hold on one sec.